Welcome back to the channel. It's Fans Power. It's episode 417, and in the past, we have done mini comic makeovers, but this go around, we're changing things up. We're not just making over one mini comic, we're doing five. Five, in fact, to use to reintroduce the Horde. So we kind of didn't talk about this ahead of time, so I will just kind of lay the cards out on the table here, Tyler, at the beginning. Do you want to go through these original five comics first, talk about why they don't work as well, what could be better, and then we'll go into the main aspect of how we're going to change everything around, because you've been in storytelling mode ever since we did the arena episode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You got the notes on your phone, you have it all typed out, you are ready to go.
I was writing up to this afternoon, like just let me add this, let me cut that, let me elaborate here, let me do this, and I'm like I got so many changes on here on all five. I'm like, God, this wouldn't even fit 14 pages. Probably be like fit 24 pages or something like that. But it's not that crazy. But I was just like, I had so many thoughts of like, man, this would be fun to do this and be fun to do that, and um I'm so glad we're doing it now, because I'm like, I was like, I was like anxiously awaiting the opportunity to do this with you. Like, it's gonna be a long wait to do this, and we're just like, yeah, let's do it this week. You're like, oh boy, and I put the pedal to the metal, dude, and I'm just like, I'm just
Better hurry up.
watching episodes for fun as I'm thinking and stimulating my mind. Like, oh, that'd be a good idea too. Let me do this, and so I told Nathan this is when I'm at my peak as a fan, is like when I have the most stimulating thoughts and conversations about Master of the Universe. Like, it's a high that I wish I had every single day. I love having a reason to write or come up with um story ideas for this property, because I find it so it's intoxicating. Like, what few times I've been asked to write mini comics, and most of them never came to fruition, but it was just, oh my God, I love the sensation of like being asked do this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just like, knocking it out left and right, making changes, and it's I wish I could do that all the time, dude. It feels so fucking good.
Well, these mini comics, as we're going to go through them, we have actually, in the past, I'm pretty sure we have knocked out all five of these and
Hmm.
reviewed them
Yeah.
over the course of the 400 plus episodes that we've done of the show. But this will be kind of a condensed version of us going through these, and we have a particular order that you've set up a certain way that you wanted to go through these, because I asked you specifically. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, what order are we going down in here? And I'm assuming that this is going to kind of reflect the story that you have told here, because I kind of want to understand. Maybe we'll get to the process of how you started writing all
Yeah,
this
and
when we get to it, or
I guess after we kind of touch base on the mini comics, I can elaborate. Okay, the direction that I went
okay.
in.
Well, let's go ahead and get going with this. So we will start off with number one. Let me go ahead and take that out there so
Yeah,
people
and
can
I,
see a
I
little
had
bit
this
better.
mini comic when I got Montana for my fourth birthday. I had no memory of the mini comic. Like, I was just, I remember the cover, but that was it. I had no memory at all what happened in it or anything like that. And I got three He-Man figures that same birthday, and that was one of the three that I it got lost very quickly, and I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that, because that let's talk about that then for a second, because kind of the idea behind this, at least on my end, I don't know if you feel the same way in terms of your storytelling, is we you I'll say we, but I kind of mostly mean you.
Well, it's us, because when I said like you and I working on this together. Yeah, I
Right.
threw a lot of stuff out, but it's important to get your input, especially that you read these.
Yeah.
Refreshed yourself, and share whatever thoughts you had too of like
Well,
why this.
the main idea I'm thinking here when we go into reintroducing the Horde and listening to the story that you've laid out is we're gonna have five mini comics, and they're gonna kind of connect to one another to lead to a grandiose conclusion. And in my mind, you were talking about mini comics being lost as a kid. I was thinking too, going back to that time period. We're sitting there trying to figure this out. We're gonna have mini comics with this, and I look at it just a business perspective, just thinking of like Mattel mindset of this would be a fantastic way if they all connect. That in order to see the next part, you got to get the next comic, and what does that mean? You got to buy the next action figure.
Yep.
So that's kind of the mindset that I was looking into when you were.
That was something I had in mind too. Is that it would encourage, like, you could pick up, much like with these, you could pick up any figure, any member of the Horde, and read this one story. But I I really felt like too, because the first five were introduced the same year. They're advertised almost together, at least in the first teaser. It's them
Mhm.
as a group. Um, the logic of, like, okay, why should I buy all of them? Well, because not only they look great, and there's this great story that helps build the, like, okay, why you need, if you just got Leech first, like, oh my god, this story that describes Leech, like, clearly something happened before that, and the story continues after. What, like, I got to get Grizzlor for that, or I got to get Montana for that. Like, just encourage, getting these guys over in wrestling terms.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and we'll start knocking these out. So the first one here, Montana and the Menace of the Evil Horde. The biggest issue, of course, with this one is it's you looking at the cover, you think this is going to be focused on Montana. Not the case.
Yeah,
He's barely in this book at all.
yeah,
And it goes without saying, the artwork in this not good at all. Do
yeah.
not like the
It's
art.
arguably next to the next one of the worst, if not the worst.
Yeah.
It could be
So,
argued as the worst mini comic in
uh,
terms of art. Well,
yeah,
well, it could. If someone said, I'm like, I won't argue, because Leech is clearly the worst.
yeah.
But this one's just, it's a runner up for sure.
The palace is being rocked. We have an unidentified object in the sky. They're wondering where it's at. Dragon Walker's gone. Power Sword's left behind. Hordak's looking up, and Montana's design in this is awful too.
Mm-hmm.
Like the art in it's not great. I mean, we saw Moss Man there at the beginning briefly, but Montana looks terrible.
Very, very, well, non-threatening.
Uh, Adam is being lured by a sinister force that he cannot repel. Brings him to the fright zone, and not in the fright zone in Filmation form, but we're getting the fright zone in toy form here. Which,
Yeah.
I most of these comics, and I mean the mini comics in general, it's there to kind of have that. I need this toy, or I got this toy. Look at it in action, kind of thing. So having the fright zone in this capacity in these comics, do you like having the toy version of it here? Or would you much prefer seeing more of a Filmation-esque
No,
style?
the toy, okay. Because the mini comics, even though they would incorporate Filmation elements, from like much how Larry Houston would draw the characters to look very Filmation like, there would be elements that are pulled from it, and I appreciate that, and I would encourage that, because the kids are watching the cartoon, obviously. So why not have that influence with the mini comics, and just have this constant cross promotion of the two?
Yeah. Adam is swallowed whole, dropped down in the pit. He is then greeted by Hordak, Grizzlor, and Leech, who Hordak then decides, oh, hey, this is a bargaining chip now. I have the prince. Still getting rattled here and concussed around, and man, I just this art. I can't get past. You can't get past the art, and like Montana looks kind of decent here. It doesn't look like his. Look, that looks more toy esque than it does the way that they were kind of. It seemed like it was on top of his head going up that way.
It still just looks like complete dog shit, though.
Yeah, it does.
And the fact they threw in Spike, or one of Skeletor's warriors too, it just shows the person who drew this on their lunch break just had a bunch of toys sitting on the table. Like, all right, I'll fit him in there too.
Yeah. They go on to have a battle. How do you feel about Leech sucking off this door right here?
Yeah,
it's not a good use of his powers at all.
No.
More fighting going
And to see
on.
like a royal guard like hitting Clawful on the nose, I'm like, no, that wouldn't happen. Like that's just you know, like we're just ignoring the fact that yes, every so many characters that were available at the time were just thrown in this book, whether they belong to this faction or not. The logic has gone out the window. It didn't take long to figure that one out.
Yeah. It plods along. Orko manages to find Adam, give him the sword. We get, oh god, that's scary, scary image right there. I have the power. Goes, he's He-Man. More fighting, and then bam, like the end, as Hordak is basically vanquished, back to the fright zone, and he's trapped in his own holding cell. And
let me out of here.
Yeah. So, yeah, not off to a great start with the Montana book.
No.
Up next, one of your personal favorites. You loved it so much that you actually have a printed version of a story that you created.
Yeah.
Which I was going to save it specifically for this. Since you've already had that Leech story, I'm assuming like that's none of the elements that you had in that story are going to apply to the one that you've created for this overarching deal.
One minor element that I pulled from that, and it wasn't just so I could say, yeah, I want to honor what I wrote. Like, no, I just felt like that was just a fun little piece of like, you know what, that worked, that little bit right there worked for me.
Yeah.
I'll put it in the story as well.
Leech, the Master of Power Suction Unleashed. So,
like way too long a title.
Too long of a title, but at least Leech is prominently featured in this book.
Yeah.
So it comes up, scouting the Dread Sea, Man-at-Arms Cyclone make a hideous discovery. There's slime on the beach. It's littered with debris. Merman's freaked out. A monster. And I don't think Merman be doing that.
No, and I just no.
This is where does this one rank overall in terms of worst mini comic for you? I've always heard you mention that this one was the worst.
This one, Montana, and probably the Cosmic Key, because
Cosmic Key is pretty shit.
Yeah, those three are arguably. I mean, they're not arguably. They are the fucking worst. There are some other shitty mini comics, but these three are just they're hard to beat, and this by far is the most uncomprehensible mini comic that's ever been done.
Yeah,
I had this one too. I got Leech on the same birthday, and I had no memory of this mini comic.
Not the biggest fan of having them kind of giant sized over everybody else. Really, it's
and it just happens. It's just he's this Leviathan that comes out of the water.
Yeah,
and then
and too much weird dialogue too. Knuckle Sandwich, Blubber Gut,
Blubber Gut. I'm like, Jesus Christ! It's like the guy's 4-year-old son like helped write the dialogue.
Yeah, they bring Merman back, and Randor is talking to him. It's
Merman with a fucking beard.
Yeah. It's just like
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah. It's no doubt my Master Skeletor will join them, and so you will see powers of evil shall soon prevail. So we do get tidbits amongst these books about the past between Skeletor and Hordak, and the apprentice and the teacher and all that stuff. Changes into human. Oh, gosh, like just sure, like the perspectives are all off here. Like, you see the side profile. All right, Leech towers over him, cool. And then you look at it here, and it's like, what? Why did that angle change so drastically? Mossman looks a little bit better though in this one, but can't say the same for.
That still looks like hammered shit.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, they just chuck Merman back into the sea, and now Leech is like, look here, Leviathan here. Oh, he's normal sized.
Yeah, it's fuck. And to think that Lee Norland, who was the editor on these books, obviously did a great job. But like, Lee, where the fuck were you when this one came on your desk?
I mean, I've noticed that I think all of these books don't have any credits on any.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Town
And
Fire.
I wish this one did, so we knew who to put the blame on.
Yeah. When I'm looking at this, I'm just like, is Rita Repulsa here?
Yeah, it's
Throwing
just
her
she throws
staff and
throws her staff down, and Hordak grows to massive size, and
uh, just for no reason, really. Like, why? Skeletor's here. He's just standing there.
just standing there like, oh my god, like
Yeah.
it's like he's trying to hold his ass cheeks together before he shits himself.
Yep. And then Ed Boon read this and was like, you know what? That sounds like a great idea for a video game.
Yep.
We'll change the C to a K, and Iceman Traveler has content for the rest of his life.
Yep. Oh
Look
my
at
god,
this.
that's one of the shittiest Skeletors. But I mean, that gives
I
the
mean,
Golden Book, the Trap, a run for its money.
I've seen worse than this, and
I
in the
have
time
too,
that I've
but that's
been on the
just
show.
ugh. And then
Leech
Leech
is
can suddenly be big enough to suck up the fucking land shark.
yep.
I mean, you can't even, like, what the fuck happened next?
Yeah, heroic fool, you have sealed your fate, and gladly I will send you to your own destruction. But lo, the beastly brute does speak too soon, for He-Man strikes the battle's final blow, sending the monster reeling from Eternia into the great beyond. So he killed him. There's a lot of references here to having the portals, the kind of back and forth between all the materials, between these mini comics, and then Tyler, you gave me some other material to check out. One of which was what's the name of the story? Is
Gateway to Trouble?
No, I was talking the Horde story. The story.
Power of the Evil Horde.
Power of the Evil Horde. Thank you. And then you gave me, what was it? 4 episodes? Three.
Yeah.
One of which I had seen before. I think I've seen them all before, actually, but the other two seemed a little fuzzy, so it was nice to revisit them. But lots of... Actually, that probably plays a role in the story you're wanting to tell, so I'll say
that. But you know, but I know what you're trying to say there.
Mm-hmm.
So I when we get to it, I have a bit of a plot device.
I figured you did. I started to, and I'm like, well, just wait until we get to it.
Be as blunt as you want to, man. Like that, I don't hold nothing back, dude. Mossman looks like the Jolly Green Giant there.
He went from looking kind of decent in this to looking awful again. Yeah.
That's why it was important to include him in that Leech mini comic. I was like, he needs to be redeemed, dude. That's just fucking awful. Oh. Up
next, number 3.
Number 3.
Oh wait, sorry. Number 3.
Yeah.
We have Grizzlor: The Legend Comes Alive, which this is one of the mini comics that we covered a couple years ago, and I still enjoy the aspect of having the campfire storytelling.
I do too.
There's this myth to this creature. There's no way that this is real, but the campfire tales. I'll ask you this: do you prefer it to be heroic warriors here, or do you think it would have been cooler to maybe have a setting where, much like we talked about in the arena, having just other people from Eternia, maybe just on the outskirts, all those guys in like their mud huts and stuff that are usually on lookout or happen to see evil coming their way first? That seems a little more of a scare tactic. We'll have a campfire. Things have cooled down in Eternia for a little while. Let's camp out and have a nice night, and someone decides they want to tell a story about Grizzlor or whatever it may be. I think I would have preferred that over just having heroic warriors here.
Me too, because for one thing, like I know the mini comics, like they kind of come up with their own personalities for these characters, but it's still hard to believe any of them outside of Orko would have like Buzz off. You know, he's telling a story, but he's immediately linked to he makes up shit. Mm-hmm. Like that's an Orko trait. That doesn't fit Buzz at all, or anyone else in the scene for that matter. You know, it made more sense if Orko was along with them just because, and because then after here, like Buzz off, examining these tracks, like he's serious. He's like he's like he's on alert, and just thinks like Orko's story may not be that crazy. It's just like I'm buying into what was a really enjoyable ghost story and just goes about. But for them to like Buzz off, you make shit up and you're telling these crazy stories, and it's just like that's no, that just even though this is definitely one of the better Horde, and I love Bruce Timm's artwork, and I think when it was reviewed a while back, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But for the purpose of this, as I told Nathan before, I'm like, this doesn't serve the purpose of the introduction of the Horde,
No.
um, with the use of how Grizzlor is portrayed here.
Yeah. I totally agree with you on the idea. If you're going to have the heroic warriors, that like Orko needs to be the one telling the
Yeah,
story, because everyone that just that's way more of a trait associated with him than anybody
yeah.
else.
It just it looked just as silly if Fisto was the one around the campfire, telling this tall tale of
Yeah,
I
but it's
swear he was 20 feet tall, and
but it does have really great artwork. I love this
oh,
panel here.
Bruce,
I like
it's unbelievable, his
yeah.
artwork. He's definitely one of the best mini comic. I still say Larry's the best, but Bruce could easily be on they're on the same level. I think just because Larry did so many of my favorites. But Bruce, son of a bitch, man. I wish he had done more though. God, fuck, he did some awesome art.
Yeah. They're out in the blistering sun. Oh, look, hey, here's some shelter ahead. They walk in, and we get this great shot of Tila
Yeah,
finding bones inside of this cave, and that's awesome. And then here's Grizzler, which he looks great in this. How do you?
he's very menacing. Yeah.
Yeah, he's swatting everybody away.
Yeah,
Grizzler destroying you.
he's getting over immediately. Like
Yeah.
they're just he's taking everybody out. Like Fisto is one of the top of the elite, and he's taken out immediately. Yeah, it's a great way of establishing like his strength and what he can do, and that he's not just you know a poorly drawn character in the background like
Yeah.
in the last too many comics.
He grabs Tila, and he's gone. He's through there, and now it's up to them to go and rescue her. And once again, like holy shit, I love the way Hordak looks in this
Yeah,
book.
yeah.
Yeah,
Bruce did some really good posing with Hordak because he did a Busso Hordak or Enter Busso Hordak, and I'm trying to think. Oh, well, it's not worth it's getting off. But he just, I think of that in Search for Keldor. He did some really great poses with the villains.
I like the idea here. Dungeon of Horrors drops Tila down into that.
Yeah,
Your mind starts to think there. What is the Dungeon of Horrors?
something that could be, you know, elaborate on or built upon, obviously, but unfortunately not.
Yep. Sorceress is feeling what's going on. Of course, this means He-Man's got to go, which I did appreciate that other characters kind of got the rub, and it wasn't just jumping in. Adam's here; he's got to turn into
Yeah,
He-Man right at the beginning of the book. So always appreciate stuff like that. They break through the portal. It's not bad. This is I think for me overall probably easy number 2
oh yeah, yeah,
out of the
oh yeah,
5.
but easily, yeah,
Fisto get to see his abilities. He's getting
yep.
put over a little bit. How
But
do you how do you feel
this
about this? The heads up here with grab and hold. You're going for a little ride. Swoops in, grabs. Oh, it
that I
cannot
don't
be.
mind, but the whole like
Grizzler sees
Grizzlor,
his reflection and he's like,
that's
"Oh,
just
oh, I'm so ugly."
yeah,
Yeah.
no, dude, that's no intimidating villain is going to have a weakness like that. I just feel like that's just I know it's aimed for kids, but I think you could have done without that, even with it being for kids.
Well, spinning yards is fun. It's true. My stories have endangered you. So, for your safety, my good friends, to my grim tales, I'll put to an end and evermore speak just the truth.
Yeah, like, well, Buzz, what do you have to say for yourself? Like, I'm just like, dude, that's so out of character. Like, I don't buy that at all.
Up next, Treachery of Modulok, which this is also another one we reviewed a couple years back.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
Modulok,
Larry Houston drew this one too, and it's not the most polished.
yeah, not his best. I do like the fact that Modulok's plan to get inside of the castle is, yeah, I'm going to dismember myself, put myself in presence, and then be delivered to everybody. And then they're going to be a party, and I'll show up, I'll break in,
I'm gonna get all the forbidden weapons, and it'll be great. Good
yeah,
times will be had by all.
yeah. um, Yeah, so here we go. It's like, oh, I have a leg, I have an arm. Oh, that's cool. We got all these body parts. Oh, but wait a minute, Ram Man shows up and he's got the heads. How about that? I mean, the whole thing is just, hey, it's a gimmick, kids. You can do whatever you want with this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that part, but it's just it's not really. Well, we'll get to that.
We have the Bastrosaurus here, kind of.
Product placement there for.
Yeah, but to me, I look at it, it's sitting there sort of like, like how the Batmobile is in the
Yeah.
Batcave kind of thing. I kind of, I kind of dig. I appreciate it.
And it's a vehicle that got used so sparingly, just not a heavily used vehicle. And it's there wasn't a bad vehicle in the line, and it's a shame it wasn't used more.
We'll leave the package here. We'll go find the sorceress. So Modulok breaks out. Here we are. Here's the forbidden weapons. Got the one they wanted. I mean,
And
how do
there
you?
it's based on a concept design at the time, which is
Yeah,
what happened with a lot of the mini comics. Like when
right.
Larry
Yeah,
gets these ideas, like, okay, this is what you're going for, so he just draws what they're aiming, and then it changes down the line. So when you get the figure, it looks this very imposing character, and then you see like this little diminutive
yeah.
ant like character. It's just like, hmm, this is
Mhm.
not as menacing as I'm seeing on the back of the box
Yeah,
or the figure itself.
you get like a Gremlins esque vibe
Yeah,
from this.
yeah,
Like,
or Ghoulies or something like that.
yeah,
It's yeah, it's just not. It's just they're very, you know,
I
if it
kind
the
of I wouldn't have minded it if they could have if they would have gone this path and just have it be like two little that can assemble and
yeah, if they
disassemble
were
and
a small little character that could you could take apart and make your own, like that gimmick would have been fine
yeah.
if it was stayed that way. But the finished product was vastly superior to what
Oh,
we got. You
absolutely.
know.
But if they ended up going in that direction and kind of having this character, you probably roll your eyes. But if they made this character sort of like comic relief, just
Hmm.
constantly getting into just stuff like this, going on these little tasks and just the way I. But at the same time, too, you have a character like Too Bad because I picture them when they're like this that they'll work well enough together if they absolutely have to. But I see them if they're in this form, kind of butting heads more often than not, and kind of
Yeah,
one thinking they're better than the other, which is the reason why their plan always falls through, sort of thing.
yeah.
Oh,
Which I again, I feel like that's something that you don't want to repeat. Which Too Bad suffers from not being portrayed very confidently
right.
in the mini comics and in filmation either. And it's just one of those like things that, well, we'll get way off topic there. It just doesn't translate. It just doesn't work with what the character is established as already.
Right. Of course, working in the toy gimmick, we have to.
Hmm.
Oh, what? How do I use it? When the time comes, you will know. So they go. Yeah, this is not Larry's best work.
No, no, it's kind of, well, it's clunky and just, yeah, it's not very. This one and the Stinkor mini comic as well. He did that one, and I'm like, oh man, like, Larry, I hold in the highest regard, and obviously everyone's gonna have a couple of slip ups where it's like, whew, boy, these are not very good, especially when you see how good he can draw the Horde and the Evil Warriors, and
Yeah,
well, in the next book.
yeah. And then the whole thing with Modulok too, as we had in Filmation, the whole idea too of at one point being with Skeletor, then switching over to Hordak, uh, is I'm probably an element you've definitely worked into the story that you're about to share
Yeah,
with us shortly. I mean, this is a highlight of the book
yeah.
for me. He-Man and Skeletor having to team up and work
and,
together.
and that's happened in multiple I think of like the golden book story Tealer's Secret, where the Horde show up in that, and it's kind of like a barely touched on, but it's one of those things that they kind of have to slightly team up, and then Skeletor's like, all right, let me pay you back by beating you, He-Man. Like,
Yeah.
it's It's one of those things that it's always fun to see a temporary alliance.
And I like this bit of dialogue. Let's just see if you can handle two of me. And
Yeah,
Skeletor replies, "To destroy you now will give me twice the pleasure." So that's
yeah,
a good bit. I can feel it.
yeah.
The pack the sorceress gave me, the power of dot dot dot. What could it be? The Thunder Punch. Which
Which
is
I
it's
love
a
the
great looking
gimmick.
figure.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's one of the. I mean, all the He-Man variants were beautiful. Like there wasn't a bad one, and that was. Oh, it could be argued as one of the best if people wanted to. I wouldn't argue that.
yeah. Uh, Forbidden weapon destroyed. I gotta disappear now. Wait for me, master. They just skedaddle off. Then,
Skeletor makes an attempt at Grayskull. I was like, oh,
well, which is cool. I like that
yeah,
too. It's like, all right, Hordak's gone. Oh, the drawbridge is open. I'm gonna go for it. And thwarted by the Thunder Punch. Gives a good little pose. The end.
yeah. He-Man must pose.
Yeah. Yeah. And now we move on to the fifth and final and the best of the bunch.
Yes, by far.
Easily. Hordak, Ruthless Leader's Revenge, which I want to say we also reviewed not too long ago as well.
It was talked about a lot because
Yeah.
I have that was one of the few that remained from my childhood, and one of the two that left the biggest impression on me as a kid was this mini comic.
Yeah. Long have the doors from Etheria to Eternia been closed to me by Skeletor's dark treachery, but today the portal opens, and at last I shall take my sweet revenge. Traitor Skeletor shall be destroyed. Sends him through. There's a lot of good moments in this book.
Beautiful artwork.
Yeah, Grizzlor goes in the portal, brings back Stinkor, and everyone. You get the gimmicks like, oh man, this dude stinks. There's a dude at work. I don't work closely to him, but you can smell him from quite a distance away. So I might just start calling him Stinkor.
There's a few people I work with as well that fit that description as well.
It's awful. Hordak puts it into it. It's like, hey, look, don't mind the smell. Got to talk to him. And I like how Stinkor steps up to Hordak and he tells him, like, hey, hold your tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he will come to the Fright Zone, we can bury the hatchet. So, of course, we get the trope of, once again, Hordak, Skeletor, hey, let's team up together, and we'll get momentarily. But this is a good drawing of
Skeletor that's right Filmation Skeletor. Like, Larry's work is second to none here. And his Triclops is Filmation-esque. Yeah. Evelyn is Filmation-esque. And I always thought it was interesting, like, Skeletor's Havoc Staff is more like a wand.
Yeah. Yeah,
that is. It's just, it's almost like maybe he has his regular Havoc Staff, and maybe that's the one he keeps by his throne, but
possibly.
But I'm sure it's just, I got to draw the staff in here. I'll just shorten it up here. Probably. Who knows?
Yeah. Everyone telling Skeletor, hey, I think this is a terrible idea. And Skeletor's like, no, I think it'll be okay. So they go and they meet up.
I love that Larry continues to draw Skeletor with his battle axe.
Yeah.
Which was something that, he's the only one to do as far as I know. And it's just something that, which was the original Leech mini comic cover too, which was Skeletor with his battle axe fighting He-Man. And it was repurposed, which our good friend, the Reverend James Etalk, came across that, and I think got it from Larry Houston as well. Everybody has all these great artifacts, but me, I don't have shit.
Just ask James if you can buy one off him. He's always selling those.
I want someone to say, you know what, Charlie, you really appreciate this stuff. I want to bequeath this to you, like Indiana Jones. Instead of just like,
or what's his face in basketball.
Like Reggie Jackson, like some little shit took the other one on.
No. I'm talking about when what's his face dies.
They're
at the will reading, and he's like, "I bequeath to you."
Yeah, the entire team, and if they don't win, the team reverts to a vet or something like that. Like, that'd be great.
I love the negotiations that they're both.
I do too.
Having here, it's really great. Perhaps if I said it's Skeletor saying, "Oh, you want my guys to go first?" I don't think that. All right, well, what if I send you these two? I'm still not sure. This goes into the thing that is with Montana. It's alluded to in the book that he's not really featured in, that he's used much as sort of a scout with his ability to see and hear over great distances, kind of thing. Is this an element that I expect to see at all in the story that you will share? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Because I think I asked that because a lot of times you would see in She-Ra that I think most people remember Montana for is just falling through the door.
He becomes the whipping boy of the entire series. Like, he has his moments, but overall he's just there for Hordak to just bitch slap. And I love Montana's portrayal in the show. Like, I like Lou Scheimer's voice and I like his design. I just it's disheartening to know that pretty much the entire Horde itself was, they're slipping on banana peels a lot of times. They have their moments where they're quite threatening, but it's not consistent.
Yeah. They make the deal. They decide to attack, this is great.
Yeah.
That
right there is
easily
one of the greatest images I've ever seen in of He-Man, because of just, and as a kid, I had no idea what Spider was. I thought that because Hordak shows up with the Land Shark that they traded vehicles.
I mean,
and that's because I'm giving you my guys to use, and you use your guys. I'll give you use my Land Shark. You can use my, and I didn't know it was an actual like He-Man vehicle because I never saw it ever as a kid. I just here was the only time I ever saw Spider.
Man,
so
that's crazy to think about.
Vehicle.
That's crazy to think about because as a kid, for me, like I felt that I saw this vehicle everywhere all the time from older cousins and stuff that I had that were playing with this stuff. I saw this a lot and I was like, what is that? That looks really cool. But then went on to not own one until a few years back.
Yeah, I wouldn't get one until I was an adult, and much like a lot of them, I had to wait till I was a teenager and spending allowance money, calling up stores from magazine ads, and hey, do you have this? Because I don't have internet.
Yeah. We get a lot of good vehicle battle action, which is fantastic. This is the type of mini comic that, as a kid, and you have all this stuff. This is the things that stimulate that imagination to create your own stories with the tools.
And it does a good job of presenting everybody as imposing characters, from the heroes to the villains. Like, they're not, all just, and I was kind of like miffed as a kid seeing Stinkor just kind of tossed around like he was, because I loved the character as a kid, and I didn't like seeing him being treated as like this piece of shit. Like he was the lowest of Skeletor's crew in this, and I'm like, no, I don't like that portrayal of him.
But, I mean, I guess someone's got to be the weaker character here.
But I guess in my mind, I would never make any of Skeletor's ranks like there'd be no weak link. He hires them for a reason.
Yeah, true. I very much agree with you on that. Skeletor and Hordak, of course, sort of. Well, Hordak overhears Skeletor. Kind of, I don't know why Skeletor
talking shit. He's like, I'm going to turn on him, and he's like, what makes you think Hordak's going to hold up his end of the bargain? This here blew my fucking mind.
Here we go. Evil warriors and the Horde fighting amongst themselves, and we get Jitsu and
kicking the shit out of Leech. Was as a kid, like, fuck yeah,
yeah, that's awesome. And you get kind of a little bit of a comedic moment here, where just everyone's standing there like, oh, okay, what the fuck?
It's like, and I love that because as a kid, I'm seeing many faces, and seeing Roboto and Fisto and the usual suspects of like Tila, Man at Arms, and Ram Man and Orko, like along with He-Man. And in the book, they point out that this is a mistake, and I'm sure it was. But as a kid, that panel there, I took it as like the Horde, they're getting pissed off at each other, at their own teammates. Like, why the fuck aren't you, holding up, take that guy down? And then Leech is like, you know what, Grizzly, I've had enough of your fucking mouth. And they just start colliding. And then Whiplash and Jitsu start. I took it as like, because Manny Faces says the Vile Fiends turn on each other. Like, I took it as their own team is turning on itself. Like, the Horde members are fighting amongst themselves. The Evil Warriors are fighting amongst themselves. That's how I took that. I never took it as it was a drawing error, because I feel like that could work. I could see both these groups bickering amongst themselves.
Yeah.
We get this. Says, I've had a fuck enough of this.
Yeah, and just slams his sword down and splits the land in half. At which point, we got this. We got this a couple times, I believe, in the book. But I just, or maybe maybe not in this mini comic. Maybe it just happens one time here, and there's another time maybe Skeletor says it. But I think I mentioned this before when we reviewed this book and we've talked about it. I love the fact fist up in the air, you will rue the day. I don't know why. I
Yeah,
just love them saying you will rue the day.
yeah. It's a classic villain trope.
Yeah. They go back through the portal. Skeletor's like, all right, whatever. The battle's over. Mark my words, the war has just begun.
That shot of He-Man holding his sword like at his waist, that's something that Larry's done a few times, or that has been shown.
Ah,
It was
yeah.
in the Modulot comic, and it was also in Double Edged Sword too, like with blood on the end of the sword.
Yeah, that kicks
Like, it's
ass.
just a really cool shot of like seeing like the villains take off from the hero's perspective, like just by the sword's perspective is what I should say.
What looks not so cool is the shot of He-Man here.
Yeah, he's got a
It is
clown
what it is.
face. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a distant shot. It is. But one more page. Sorry, my bad. I always like the little bits here. I actually really like the bit in the storybook that you had me read at the end, and it goes back to the whole thing of uh, Orko asking He-Man, "Hey, why did you save Skeletor?" And then just He-Man saying about how he values life no matter
Yeah.
what side they're on or how evil they are. I always like that little bit.
It's I'm glad they don't overuse it, but because when it's used, it means a lot.
Yeah, it does.
You know, whether he saves Skeletor in the Dragon Invasion or Dragoon in Dawn of Dragoon, like, and the villains take a moment to say, you saved my life. Why?
Yeah,
Like, I just, and I love that He-Man doesn't hesitate for a second, like, of how much he values life. I mean, hell, he did it in the arena, what we just covered last. So,
that's true. And He-Man says here, four true alliances are built on trust, a trait those evildoers will never share.
yep.
So there are the 5 mini comics that we have originally, and we kind of talked about how some of them really lacked either in the art department or just not featuring the character that was intended to on its cover and not propping them up in the proper way. So Tyler, here we are. I'm actually kind of really excited about this because it's been quite some time since we've actually had you storytell. I think it's one of your biggest strengths in terms of this property because you love it as much as you do, and the way that you're able to tell stories, and the one story in particular that we've never really been able to share with anybody, I particularly loved a lot. So I'm excited to see what you got for us here.
Well, I didn't write a full 14-page treatment because I'm like that would take too fucking long to do. So I pretty much came up with 5 rather large synopsis, like maybe a few bits of dialogue here and there, but
Yeah.
just very lengthy synopsises. And I even like changed the title, or some of the titles I kept, some of them I changed.
Okay.
And this one I called The Menace of Montana, which people say, "Oh, it's already The Menace of Multibot." I have an idea for changing that one too.
All right.
Which that would be Multibot Madness is what I was going to call
Okay.
that one.
Hell yeah.
But it's I took the like Montana and the Menace of the Evil Horde. I'm like, no, just condense that down and just make, because Montana is going to be the focus of this. Like, that he is the sole villain of this. It needs to be all about him. And I wanted to open it up with the Evil Warriors, Cyclops, Jitsu, Too Bad, just kind of you can put whoever you want. Just a small group, 4 or 5 guys. They're heading back to Snake Mountain in that direction, and they're victorious from a mission Skeletor sent them on. They've captured something. I didn't really go into great detail about what it is, but the fact is that you hear these allusions, or alludes to um, the villains doing various things for Skeletor. So obviously they have to be victorious on a variety of things. So I wanted to start this up. Okay, they're victorious from something. Don't know what it is. They've captured an artifact, a weapon of some kind, and they're making their way back to Snake Mountain. The heroic warriors have not stopped them or aren't even aware of it. And as they're making their way back, Triclops kind of gets the idea, like he's picking up something, like, I think we're being watched. Doesn't say anything, and the next thing you know, boom, you've got Jitsu being taken out. Too Bad's dodging a blast. Cloth has been hit in the back, and they're just under this onslaught of like beings. Like, where the fuck is it coming from? And Triclops is like, all right, whoever's still standing, like Jitsu, like get too bad, pick him up, keep going, get the prize to Snake Mountain. I don't know what the hell's going. Just get the guys out of here. If we lose this, Skeletor's going to destroy all of us.
Mhm.
And I'll go after whoever it is. And
At
then
this point, I see Triclops when he tells them to go. I see him like taking his sword out.
yeah, the sword is out. He's yelling like, "Get the hell to Snake Mountain!" I don't know. I don't. Someone's after us. I don't know what it is. I got more of a history of tracking. Prey. I did it for years as a bounty hunter. Like, you
Could,
guys get out of here. I'll
could
take
you,
off. And
could you even include some dialogue of Triclops kind of saying kind of alluding to it's not any heroic warriors that he's crossed paths with, kind of thing, to make it be like, oh well, clearly it can't be Man at Arms or Roboto or anybody like that. It's got to be I he's got as you said, he's got that sense that something's just off.
well, that's the thing, is that obviously it's Montana, but he's keeping hidden because his eyes are the only thing that's making himself visible. So he's firing from an area that they're not seeing, because that's he is a spy. So even though essentially his mission is to be sent to check out Skeletor's warriors, having a little fun here because he is doing this at the bidding of Hordak by sabotaging a mission of theirs, just doing it. But he's also surveying, how competent, how tough is this crew that Skeletor currently has. He takes out several of them immediately, puts them in sheer panic because they're not prepared. They're not driving in a large vehicle that can carry them, like the attack track for the heroic warriors. Like, Skeletor doesn't have any vehicle. I mean, he's got the collector and stuff like that, but I found it more satisfying that these guys are on foot, that they've been successful. They're not traveling in the Basher or the Doom Buster or anything like that. It's just, I felt for a mini comic, you can't go completely Filmation-esque. Like, you can pull some stuff, but I just thought the image of these guys walking back to Snake Mountain and carrying the pride, and then all of a sudden they're under attack. Like, they're not so close to Snake Mountain that Skeletor would pick up on it. They're just far enough away. Like, holy shit! Like, where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Just get it out of here. Get to Snake Mountain, and let me just tell Skeletor I'm going after whoever attacked us. And then you cut there, and then you cut to outside Castle Grayskull, and you've got Man at Arms, Tila, and Adam, and they're introducing the Bashosaurus. Since this is that item that's being introduced in '85,
Mm-hmm.
it's being tested. It's not completely ready yet, but it's just like, it's kind of encouraging. Like, hey kids, this is going to be made available. So they're just kind of testing it out, and Montana is off in the distance, just observe. He's listening and hearing everything, and he's listening to what Man at Arms is saying, and watching them showcase, like, this great new vehicle. And then he snaps an action from a distance. He blasts Man at Arms, and Tila immediately, like, knows they're under attack, shoves Adam out of the way, and then she gets shot,
Mm.
and she collapses on the ground. And Adam realizes they're under attack. He's got to find shelter here. So Montana comes out of hiding and just kind of uh, looks inside the Bashosaurus to observe, like, what kind of technology that Man at Arms has equipped this thing with. Just looking around, he's just getting information, just trying to pick out as whatever he can find. Looks at Tila and says, "I think I've got a feast for the beast." Picks her up and starts heading in a non-disclosed direction. Like, he's heading in a different direction. And my idea was, like, he's heading to Mount Croner, which is a volcano in one episode of Filmation. I just thought it'd be kind of climactic, okay. So He-Man transforms into He-Man, see that Taylor's been kidnapped by this thing, and goes after him. So Montana gets to Mount Croner and makes contact with his base. You don't know who he's talking to or where he's talking to, but this is like, all right, I'm giving you my report. He doesn't get too far before, at the same time, Triclops in one direction, He-Man in the other, are there confronting, while he's sitting there holding a captive Tila unconscious and trying to contact with the Horde. So you got them both, like, Triclops is after revenge for being attacked, and He-Man's trying to get Tila back. So Montana immediately goes into, like, he's going to take them both on. So you got this brief fight. If this is going to be a 14-page mini comic, you have some panels to elaborate these fight sequences. So it's going to be between the three of them. But then it gets to where Montana realizes, like, I'm not really winning, but neither are they. And if I'm going to get out of here, you know what? I'm going to forget Tila. And he opens up his wristband, and a portal opens up on the wristband. So he gets the hell out of there, right? And he hits Triclops with a blast, just enough to like piss him off.
Yeah.
So Triclops aggressively just takes off after him and goes through the portal with him, and it just disappears.
Ah.
And it just leaves He-Man with an unconscious Tila, and he picks her up, and he's like, "Whatever that was, I have a feeling I'm going to see it again." And then he takes Tila back to Grayskull, and that's how that one ends.
Okay.
Just emphasis on Montana interacting with the Evil Warriors, interacting with He-Man a bit, really playing a man on reconnaissance, fucking things up, being an asshole, and then just disappears.
And then
So
you're left with like, oh, well, one, where did he go? Who was he in contact with? And Triclops followed him. So
yeah,
what's gonna happen to him?
what's going to happen? So the next one would be Leech Unleashed.
Okay.
Just condense that long ass title and just emphasize this is going to be a Leech heavy one. And the synopsis behind this is that Leech and Montana are instructed to return to Eternia to capture Man at Arms. That is it. So Montana has had reconnaissance on the royal palace, and he brings Leech like, look, we need to lure them out. We need to find a way to get Man at Arms away, and we'll ambush the heroic warriors. Like, I don't see them being much of a threat, so we're going to cause a disturbance in the Banshee jungle. Another Disappearing Act reference. And so the heroic warriors and Men at Arms take the attack track. They go out to investigate. He-Man's not with them. This is just strictly we're doing our duty. We're going to go investigate. And then in hiding, Montana blasts one of the front treads. I'm like, what the fuck could like destroy one of the attack track treads? And they just so they all get out. They're all just like, this is a little unsettling. And then they're ambushed by Leech and Montana. Montana's using his optic blast, paralyzing and stunning guys. Leech immediately goes after Cyclone and just drains his energy right there, because obviously he's the strongest of the group.
Yeah.
So you take him out immediately,
Yeah.
and then he's zapped.
Let me ask you this: is this the thing with Montana doing his reconnaissance and everything, and kind of gathering information? Is it kind of alluded to at all that's he knows that Cyclone is very strong and powerful, so he tells Leech something to the effect of like, if you got to go for him first.
Yeah, take him out immediately. Like, okay. It's just sizing up. Like, there's details. Like I said, if I had more time, or was like really instructed to really overly detail, I would really set a lot of these things.
I mean, we're in the mindset too, like you said, it's a 14-page mini comic, so some stuff just kind of you just use your imagination to it to think that this is probably what they would have done.
Yeah, because I did have a note in that first one too that he does full reconnaissance on the royal palace from a distance. He's observing what's going on, the technology, who what does their guard, their resources, the soldiers that they depend on, what do they look like, what can they do? That's the whole point of that, like why he attacked Skeletor's crew, like as also is like this is the guy that pissed off my master, so I'm just gonna fuck things up.
Yeah.
Just because I can, and he knows that he can get away anytime he wants due to a portal device on his wristband there. So this is just kind of one big brawl, that they ambush them in the Banshee jungle, take out everybody, and leave them. They pick up Man at Arms, and then Montana like looks back and smiles, takes an extra wristband and just lays it on Cyclone, and then they go through the portal.
Okay.
So, and that's the end of that one.
Damn. All right.
It's just getting Leech over as this menacing force that these two guys took out about 6 heroic warriors like it was no big deal. They came in, they took care of business, and then they're going back.
Yeah,
that is it.
Yeah, I kind of see how you're building them up. You're having Montana do what he does in the first one. Then he's teamed with Leech, and you see what Leech can do, and them working together. and tying in. It's like, all right, having the wristband, opening the portals. Now I'm intrigued because, all right, Man at Arms is in there now. Triclops is in there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one is and this is something that I told Nathan before. I said the fright zone is never really used as its to its full potential. It doesn't really, like the Power of the Evil Horde book does, and you see the beast monster show up. It's
And
just
the
kind of
and
like,
the
oh,
and the gimmicks and the play set are implemented and used a
just
little
it's
bit.
just not utilized though. It
Yeah.
doesn't come off as a very threatening area. Like it's just not. I just feel like for a place that is, it's all about traps and things like that for the heroes to fall into. It's just not used to its full potential at all.
Yeah.
So I felt that this one called Prisoners of the Fright Zone really would be about the use of the Fright Zone itself, and Grizzlor being the prison uh, guard of it. So I'll make sure I don't forget anything here. But so it starts with Man at Arms and Triclops in the same prison cell,
Yeah.
the one that you see in the playset. Trying to make sure here. So they're in there, kind of just not no like Man at Arms kind of wakes up from being unconscious and sees Triclops just kind of sitting there by himself, just not really saying anything. And Man at Arms is kind of surveying, looking around, and comes up and looks inside the gate. All of a sudden, there's this little being sitting in the back, kind of off to himself, just kind of quietly, just kind of trying not to cry, but can't help but sound very distraught. And they look at him like, "You're awfully small to be trapped in this cell. Like, yeah, these bars are pretty unbreakable, but how the hell is it something that small can't get through here? Like, all my friends, all my allies have been captive of this nightmarish place. Every one of us who's tried to escape has met their fate trying to leave this cell. Like, no, there's no way. I'm too scared to like try and get out of here." And they're both like, "Look, we're not friends, but you know what? If you're willing to slip out of these bars and lift this latch, we can promise you, we will get you out of here alive." And he's like, "All right, if you all promise." So he crawls and slips through the bars and lifts the latch. So Man at Arms and Triclops they come out and they're looking around, and Triclops is like, "Look, Man at Arms, I'm gonna go look up top to see if that's a safe route for us to get the hell out of here." So he goes up there, and Man at Arms is like stepping forward, and he sees that massive cave there, and just looks and like, holy shit, he steps right in the rock trap. And Triclops turns and sees him struggling, and before he can say anything about it, the haunted tree just grabs a hold of Triclops, and it's just like, okay, now they're both fucked.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they hear this laughing. The little being that was befriending was Imp,
Ah. Yeah.
doing it deliberately for his own amusement, getting these prisoners to think they had a chance of escaping, and they just been like trying to prove that you cannot escape the fright zone.
It's good
So,
use
and
of that's a really good use of imp right there.
thank you. I thought that was like, you know what, it just a fun little nod that he will become a staple in Filmation. But why not have this little creature that they don't know, thinking he's like cute and helpless, and we'll just try and help him out too.
Oh, well, let me ask you that to kind of tack onto it. You know how in Filmation with Imp, he would take many forms, but you could
Hmm.
see his face clear in that. Would you change the mini comic to where it would throw you off to where you don't know that it's going to be Imp? I think would that make for a better reveal overall, or
I
would you
had in
toss
my
that
mind,
in there?
that he would look like he does in the show in the face, but he would be wearing like this little cloak, like he's this little peasant creature. Like he's scared. He's just kind of wearing what rags he's got left to kind of give
Maybe
to
not
him.
show his entire face.
You
Maybe
would
just
see
like
it. You would see his
just
snout.
yeah,
And
some yeah,
obviously, the fans would be like, "Oh,
yeah, yeah,
But to these guys who've never seen him before, they think he's this diminutive little helpless creature that's
yeah.
all his friends have been killed by these mysterious characters.
Right, yeah,
So
fantastic.
so as they're both stuck in the traps, Man at Arms hears this massive growl, and the beast monster's head emerges from it, jaws agape, getting ready to like clamp down, and Grizzlord comes out and just tells him to stop. Like just hold his hand up, and the beast monster like brings his head back down and calms himself. Leech emerges as well, walks
Ugh.
up to Triclops, drains more of his power, and he just goes limp in the branches of the tree. Like he can't struggle anymore because he's just been drained. So now he's been taken back to the prison cell. Man at Arms like, what is it you all want? Why are you doing this? And Grizzler just laughs and then just pounces on him, and then you cut.
Oh man.
So then it cuts back to the royal palace, and the heroic warriors and He-Man are, they've realized that this wristband was left behind. So they're like, seems like this is how these mysterious beings seem to be traveling to wherever they're coming and going awfully quickly and using one of these. And obviously it was left behind for a reason, but they're convinced like, okay, we need to figure out how to use this thing, because wherever it's taking them will take us to Man at Arms. So like if we're gonna do this, we cannot leave Grayskull unguarded. So Cyclone, you, Roboto, and Fisto, we need you guys guarding Grayskull. Three of the most powerful guys they got. It's like He-Man, Buzz Off, Moss Man, Ram Man, and Manny Faces. We're gonna take a chance and get this thing going and see if we can't open the portal and find Man at Arms.
Mm-hmm.
So then it cuts back to the Fright Zone, and let's see here.
I love the fact too that we are 3/4 of the way through the third book, and we have yet to see Hordak.
No,
Like,
yeah,
I like how you're building up to Hordak entering the picture here.
So and it cuts back to Man at Arms and Triclops back in the prison cell. Like they're kind of like, oh my god, like I don't know where we're at. We're in another dimension. Where the hell are we? And as they're kind of talking to themselves, they hear a familiar voice says, like, "Have no fear. You all have company for the feast of the beast." And they just like they recognize that voice, and it's Modulok, because Modulok used to be a member of the Evil Warriors, so Triclops
Mm-hmm.
knows who he is, and Man at Arms knows who he is kind of a reference to Happy Birthday Roboto,
Okay.
which you didn't need to watch that, but in that episode, he wants to take Man at Arms' genius and put it in his extra head. So that's kind of why I did that as a little bit of nod, but his logic is that let's see, is that okay? I think that's the end. That's the end of that one.
Yeah,
That's the end of
yeah.
the
So you reveal Modulok, which is going to lead into the fourth book.
yeah,
That's
which is the treachery of Modulog. I
yeah,
decided to keep that
yeah. No,
title.
that's a good name because it's going to emphasize probably what you have written here with the fact that Modulok has betrayed Skeletor and
Yeah,
joined up with the Horde.
yeah. That so my thinking was that he takes his time because Triclops was like, you know, what happened to you? Like I didn't think you really would have betrayed us. Like Skeletor took you in. He's like, you have no idea what Skeletor did to me. Like, and that's when you would take that time, because Modulok has got both his heads. Like he is now meets like Max, like Modulok. Like
Mm-hmm.
think about how he looked in Filmation, single headed. That was kind of my thinking, is that when he was the Galen Nightcroft. Sorry.
No, you're good. I just looked at your face there and watched you trail off because you're really trying to think
Yeah.
of that name. Yeah.
No, so I just thought this would be an appropriate time to um have him share his backstory,
Yeah.
because you see it in the style guide and you see it in Filmation, but to have like this kind of brief synopsis to Triclops and Man at Arms, like, okay, look, yeah, I really wanted to be a part of the Evil Warriors. Skeletor wouldn't accept me because he thought I was a lame scientist. I turned myself into this creature, but still, he just saw me as this weak scientist. So I need to come up with greater things, and being able to turn my body into something that's a great power, because all you guys have got these great skills. You have your vision. Beastman can control animals. Too bad is an evil strategist. Jitsu is his chopping hand. Clawful an evil son of a bitch. You guys just see me as a scientist. Like I need to become more than that. And Skeletor is still just like very dismissive of the guy. Comes up with the idea of the gate maker. And by that point, he's like, I've had enough of this. You've you've belittled me for the last time. I'm trying to provide all this great technology for you. Fuck you. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Just disappears. Doesn't say where he's going or anything like that. Takes his equipment. He's gone. No one
Yeah.
knows where he went.
Yeah.
So during that time, you see like in this kind of a few panels that I came across Hordak, and Hordak saw what my potential was, realized that I could offer so much to his up and coming empire, and encouraged me to be more creative and come up with all these creations and ideas and weapons. And in the background, you see him working in his lab, and you see the beginnings of Multibot and schematics for Dialemog.
Ah, hell yeah.
So because my idea for that was going to be Dialemog for danger, kind of like dial in for murder. Like
Ah,
I
yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
set that up as
yeah,
like, that was
yeah,
kind of my idea, because Dialemog obviously showed up in Shiro a couple times and that was it. So I was like,
yeah.
I wanted to come up with something for him down the road as well. So I hope I'm
That
just
no,
trying to
no,
make sure
no,
I
no.
got
That's
some.
no. It's brilliant because adding that in, it's like, oh, here's some other characters, and you see that it would have been cool if Dial Mug could have been released in the vintage line. So you see that, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
what is that character? I would like to own that in figure form at some point down the line. Give
Yeah.
him his own mini comic, as you already had the title set up for. Just having all those things and then tying it back into Modulok had been working on the portal stuff and packed up his shit and left, and it ties it all back into
Yeah.
everything else that's been going on up to this point.
Yeah, I wanted him to be responsible for how these guys are coming and going.
Yeah,
They know where they're going because Modulok lived on Eternia. He knows where these things are at. He's
yep.
telling them everywhere. This is where you need to go. They've got these people. I've been gone for a while, but
And then, not to mention too, when you have Montana out there doing recon on everything and maybe learning more stuff that he can also pass along to Modulok, to where he can also change things up or make adjustments that he needs to whatever it may be.
yeah,
That's like, oh, well, they've changed this now, and there's this and this since you were last there. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And he's like, all right. And him being the scientist can sit there and do what he needs to do to get the job done. Yeah, it's good shit, man.
yeah. That was my sole purpose, was to really build up that he is a very important member of the Horde.
Because
That
that's what he
Hordak.
always strived to be when he was with Skeletor and the Evil Warriors.
Yeah, he wanted to be
He
seen as a valued team member. Like, all I want to do is you guys to encourage me. Like, I want to be, you know, like kind of like encourage him, like how we, and which you, yeah, since you didn't see happy, he can manipulate his body much like a Hordak would do. And even though I don't want to completely sit there and say Modulak does everything, he comes up with all these ideas and Hordak, or I'll do that too. I just wanted him to be such a pivotal part of why Horak also, he's always been about magic, black magic, but then really becomes more focused on technology, which I know I've said that before in previous conversations.
yeah.
Um, but helps Hordak like harness, like, you've mastered the black arts. If you master technology, you will, be able to take over anything and everyone.
Well, because that's kind of you could look at it in the outward perspective that it's each of these factions, it's sort of like an arms race in terms of
Hmm.
technology. That's why Man at Arms is always out, like tinkering and working on things. It's because we got to come up with something better that can outmatch anything else that anyone else is going to throw at us. So all of them simultaneously trying to outdo each
Yeah,
other with technology is great. It's like you said, magic is one thing, right? But it's not end all be all, because there are other ways to infiltrate and do stuff. And just having Montana there, like sneaking around, or having Triclops sneaking around and doing recon. There's so many little, yeah. Everyone's got their role. It's
yeah.
it's good
And
stuff.
that's something that I felt was missing in a lot of these stories. Like, yeah, they're running around, they're fighting He-Man, but when you read the style guides, you even read the back of the packaging, you read the back of the mini comic that was showcased, where like the evil Horde are here, and they're here to get He-Man and Skeletor. There's no alliances.
No,
Like, there's nothing to allude to. Like, Hordak's like, if you hadn't done that to me now, like, it's like, no, I want your fucking skull on a pike. And He-Man, I don't know you, but you know what? You're as good as dead too.
And to have Modulok now in behind Hordak, also fueled by the I hate Skeletor
Yeah,
aspect, really adds fuel to the fire there.
yeah.
Oh man!
So
All right.
I'm glad you're digging this here.
Well, yeah. Where are we heading here?
Okay, so now that Modulok has kind of gotten his, his little origin story out to, the readers and all that stuff. Now the heroic warriors have shown up. They're looking around. It's this barren area, like just nothing. You just hear wind blowing, and they just see in the distance this rock formation. So like,
Can I
well, you know what?
can I ask you this? With the bracelet that was left behind,
Hmm.
and with the portal that was going to open, and then they go through it and it's barren. Obviously, like try to get into the intricacies of the whole thing. Is that something that was like purposely programmed to just send them to this specific spot in particular?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah.
all right,
This is where anytime that, yeah, it is meant, they're meant to come back to this location.
okay.
Whatever they find, whatever they bring it back here. So they do come upon the fright zone, and that's when all hell is going to break loose. We're going to have a night. Our first really big battle is going to take place here, and we're going to get to see Modulok. If you remember the back of the box art, where he's breaking into multiple, creations, taking on multiple warriors at the same time. You have Grizzlor and Leech and Montana. You know, they're going to free Triclops and Man at Arms and just duke it out and just have this one big massive battle. And I thought about maybe having, like, the beast monster, attack He-Man, because like I had this illustration Kevin did for me too, where I have He-Man doing a rescue at the fright zone, and he takes the door off the fright zone and shoves it into the mouth of the beast monster while he's stuck in the rock trap. I was like, you could do something like that, or much like in the Leech mini comic, where he shoved the sword in its mouth and it can't close its mouth, and then smashes it out.
I kind of like the door thing better because it's
Yeah,
there. I wouldn't want to use the sword in that instance for
yeah,
that.
I thought that was like because
I mean,
in the
it would be in this regard be a fun homage, I guess, if you're using the sword and it calls back to the older Leech mini comic. But we got to
that was just
pretend
a
like
fun
those
thing,
don't
but
exist.
I think the idea too, because in that illustration you did for me, like, He-Man's taking the door off to rescue the prisoners, and then steps into the rock trap. Oh shit! And then here comes the beast monster. All you have in your hand is the gate, and just shove it into its mouth while it's clamping down on it, trying to break it. And of course, the bars are, they're supposed to be impenetrable, so it can't really do it. So He-Man's between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah,
But I really didn't play that one out too much into great detail, other than that they're all going to duke it out, and eventually Modulok and the crew realize, all right, you know what, we're gonna step away for the moment here, and hits the wristband, open the portal, they're gone. But before he does, he self-destructs the others. So now the heroic warriors are fucked.
they're just
Y-
stuck there.
They're stuck there. They're standing there with Triclops, and all He-Man can do is like, "Uh, we're in another dimension. I don't know where we're at, but I'm gonna give this a try." And he calls out to the sorceress, and after a little bit, suddenly he hears the sorceress speak to him, and she manages to open a portal in front of them, and they all come through, and they get back, and like, all right, they realize where they're at. They look at Triclops, and Triclops says, like, I have no interest in engaging in further battle with you today, so I'm just going to head on back to Snake Mountain. That's his way of saying thanks.
Yeah,
And so now, okay, you have Triclops going back to Snake Mountain. Heroic Wars go to Gray Skull. So I'm trying to decide which one of these to share first. I'll go with, all right. Triclops makes it back to Snake Mountain. Skeletor's pissed. Like, where the hell have you been?
is this? Are we? Is the Modulok book is
This
over?
this is the tail end of the Modulok book.
Okay, all right, all right.
These two
Okay,
parts.
okay,
All right,
okay.
let me step away and use the restroom real quick, because I like. Let me just, yeah, take
All
a
right,
bathroom
all
break.
right.
All right, we're going on an intermission here.
Yeah, Tyler's getting entirely too excited telling his story. I'm glad that the people in the chat are enjoying Tyler telling telling his story here. Let's see if there was anything else too that it had like question wise and stuff at the beginning. I mean, this is kind of prevalent about I jest, but no. Honestly, I'll probably ask him about this when he comes back. I think it's the energy drinks that he's drinking because when I was drinking an energy drink every day, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom more often. And once I cut that out, that sort of stopped. So I think it's just the energy drinks. I'm pretty sure he drinks 2 of them a day, maybe. So yeah, energy drinks probably not the best for us, but I only drink them now when I'm super tired. I don't drink them for anything else other than that. Or if I digress, if I'm going to like go for a long walk or a hike or anything, I'll take an energy drink. Just give me that little extra boost, help you burn some more calories along the way. Jaime Mars was first here tonight. Go ahead and toss that out there. I didn't really have anything else. I mean, let's admire. Hey, there he is. Hey, a little tough for me to kill time on that one. I was telling the people at home, I honestly think that it might be the energy drinks. How many do you drink a day now? 2?
Actually, cut it back to just pre-workout now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just still though the energy drinks will run right through you.
Oh yes, believe me, they do. But I even when I drink nothing but water, I'm like, I got the bladder the size of a
He's always been that way.
Yeah.
To the end of Modulok book.
Yes. So Triclops makes his return to Snake Mountain. Skeletor's just pissed off at him for being gone for so long. And he tells him, like, well, I came back with He-Man's, like, why did you destroy him? Like, no. Like, you had a chance to put your sword in He-Man's back and you didn't do it. And he's like, Skeletor, I think it was more important for me to get my ass back to Snake Mountain and tell you the news I have to tell you. He's like, you passed up a chance to kill He-Man. Like, I don't care what you have to say. Skeletor, the Horde are coming for you and Grayskull. And Skeletor just stops. He just turns and looks, and you could just see, like, he's got a lot of emotions going through his head. And he's like, Triclops, gather the warriors. We attack Grayskull tonight. Like, rashly, like it's like he's just like, oh my god, he's going into full scale panic mode.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we cut to the heroic warriors at Grayskull, and He-Man's telling the sorceress, like, these people, like, they're planning to take over. They're planning to invade Grayskull. Like, we in this plan, we got is like He-Man. The sorceress tells He-Man, like, He-Man, you don't understand. The only reason you were able to reach me is because you were on Eternia. The Horde are already here.
Good twist.
Yeah. So I wanted to establish the place that is their beginning base on Eternia.
Oh, okay. Hell yeah.
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 Yeah. So it was
Interesting.
I kind of thought of it being in this barren area in the Dark Hemisphere.
Okay.
So I just didn't want to think that, He-Man could just easily just reach as, like, it made more sense to me that he could reach out to her because they're on the same planet. If he was in another galaxy, I'm sure maybe it could work. You could do. I just felt like, for the twist reason of, like, no,
Yeah, that's a good twist.
Yeah, but she only knows that because our Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that that's kind of a great way to distinguish, as I was asking about earlier. You have Fright Zone playset,
Yeah.
and then you have Fright Zone as you think in Filmation, so they can both exist in this.
Yeah.
The playset is actually on Eternia.
It has a purpose. It's meant to be this kind of torture location that's kind of starting out to interrogate, and it has its purpose.
But yeah, because the whole thing here is just kind of the Horde infiltrating this, gathering information, whatever way possible, whether it's Montana going out and checking stuff out, or capturing people and interrogating, or whatever, to get other things out of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's other details too that if people are listening, it's like, well, because I don't have time to go into a million zillion details. This is
Yeah,
just
it's 14-page mini comic. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
but it would be cool to just take this and make it like a big graphic novel. Hell yeah,
yeah, yeah. That would be awesome if I could do that.
yeah.
And then the last one is the Wrath of Hordak,
Okay.
and it opens up with the horde members that we've already been introduced to are getting things ready and prepared for battle. Hordak's up top of the fright zone, just thinking to himself, and this is when you would have those moments where he's thinking about how much he's really wanting to get back at Skeletor, like from their allegiance of being uh he was his apprentice. You see these brief flashbacks like this was the guy that was going to help me conquer galaxy after galaxy, turned on me and had his own ambitions, locked me in another dimension, and it took me 18 years to get me where I am today. Just thinking about it, just like I cannot wait. Like we're already here. There's nothing he can do about it. We're gonna catch him off guard, and yeah, that's just kind of how it opens there.
Hmm.
And then we cut to the heroic warriors are making preparations at Grayskull, like they're just on alert. They're just expecting the horde to show up. Well, they don't show up. Skeletor and his crew show up, like fucking everybody, which catches them off guard. So like
Yeah.
they weren't expecting that. So oh my god, now we got to deal with this. So big battle ensues there, and as that's getting deeper and deeper, here comes the horde, and then you got all three factions just clashing in front of Grayskull. I mean, you got temporary alliances here and there. They all realize the horde are coming for all of them. So you may, see Triclops team up with, Roboto for a moment or something like that. Just fun little fan nods and things like that too throughout the fight. But then eventually it will get broken down to it comes down between He-Man, Skeletor, and Hordak. And Hordak is obviously very eager to get back at Skeletor, and he's like looking at He-Man like, I've heard about you. I don't really know you, but it's going to be a real joy to destroy you as well. And obviously, He-Man and Skeletor have to make kind of a minor alliance at that moment and send the horde back. I'm just kind of wrapping this up because essentially this is like a brief moment to Hordak, who he is, what he's about, why he hates Skeletor so much, and the battle. The Eternians are victorious at the end of all this. So make sure I didn't miss any other big notes.
In what way are they victorious in it? So, like, how does
Hordak really comes to realize, like, okay, and I made a point to like he doesn't want to be wasteful of time, resources, and energy. We came in thinking we're just going to take this over. We need more time to think about this. Yeah, the information we found has been helpful, but it's not enough.
yeah,
We just came in here thinking we're just going to conquer this like we've done everything else. There's more here. We got to deal with the evil warriors. We got to deal with He-Man and his crew. If we want to get Castle Grayskull, we got to take out more of these. We need more. We need more resources. We need more warriors. And let's see here. Okay, yeah. So once the battle's broken up, Skeleton's warriors, they go back, they leave, they realize they can't get anywhere either. Heroic warriors feel like, okay, we got a new mission on our plate here. We not only have to worry about the evil wars, but we got to worry about this new faction as well. So then it cuts back to the fright zone. Hordak is in contact with Etheria, and he's telling them, you know, um, that we need more we need to strengthen our defenses. We need more weapons. We need more wars, and I need the supplies to build a flying pit on site. And the person responds, "As you command, Father," says Force Captain Adora with Catra and Shadow Weaver behind her.
yeah. That actually does the slime pit show up in your iteration, and does your story show the connection to Shira? So
Well,
there you
and
go.
and another bit of dialogue too is that, and I didn't know where to place this one as well, either after that or before what I just told you, was that Manadon speaks with the sorceress in private in Grayskull, and he tells her like, while I was captive, these hordemen mentioned where Horak was at. They said he was on Etheria. I think we know where to start looking again.
I would do that before and then cut to
Yeah.
the yeah
I
yeah
think that's what I had in the notes is I had that first, but of course I'm trying to have all this remembered verbatim from what I wrote down for the last couple
yeah
weeks.
yeah.
But
Oh
yeah, I
man,
did have
yeah.
where Man at Arms speaks, and you're like, okay, looking for what? And then you cut to Hordak at the fright zone,
Yep.
and he's talking to Adora. Yeah,
Ah, yeah. And then you can just hear like ominous music doing the thing that it
yeah,
does, fade to black, and then
yeah,
I mean it's a mini comic, so it's not gonna do
yeah.
that. But
But to encourage like kids, like because my idea is like I would want the boys to be into the Shearer line, but I'd also like, come on, let's not girl it up here, guys. If the girls are buying He-Man toys, let's make it to where the boys would want to buy some of the Shearer characters as well. But in
absolutely,
my mind, it's like encouraging the boys to check out the Shearer content. You know,
yeah,
that if the girls check out what's going to be happening.
yeah,
So
absolutely. Ah, bravo,
so
man. Well done.
thank you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it
fantastic.
was a lot of fun. Just oh my god, that's a better idea. Just So I hope that was coherent and not
No,
not
no, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it all flowed. The only part that I was wondering, I'm like, oh, are we still in the modular book at this point? That
oh
was
yeah.
it. That was the only time. But
Which
hell yeah,
which maybe, like I said, a lot of that, if I was to actually like write it panels out and stuff like that, would probably be too congested for a 14-page mini comic. But you know, uh,
potentially,
yeah,
yeah. So you might have to cut something or some things, but that's what I'm saying. Like, man, if you could just take that story and just make it a graphic novel, then
yeah,
yeah, now we're really cooking. But to have it intertwine loosely like that enough to be like, oh, well, where's this character? Where's that character? Would you put anything? Obviously, probably at the end of it, you would be like, this story continues in, and then put like the title of the next book, and then put something you can included with, and then have included with Leech, included with
yeah.
Modular.
To find out part three, purchase a Grizzlor figure. Purchase a Hordak figure if you want to see how this battle
Yeah,
finishes. But yeah, it would be encouraging. Yeah, it's a sales gimmick, but it would also, if you really want to hear the end of the story, or you missed a part, you need to go to your local Toys R Us or Hills or Roses or whatever the case may be. And
I just put your how would you say, like local retailers or
yeah,
something
yeah,
or whatever everywhere. Blah blah
yeah,
blah. Yeah, kick ass,
yeah.
dude.
So that's yeah. There's how I think the Horde should be reintroduced in mini comic form at least.
God damn, I love it. I should have done the Vince voice right there, but
Well, do it. Yeah.
no, no, no. We won't do that. Man, is there anything you want to follow up
uh,
with that?
like I
I
said,
think
I thought about like continuing, like, because not all mini comics need to be redone, and the only reason I chose to redo the Hordak mini comic was simply because Hordak went, the line is introducing the Horde. They're not out to be allies with Skeletor. That mini comic depicts Hordak as like, I'm gonna get even with Skeletor, but first I'm gonna team up with him.
yeah,
That if I'm trying to reestablish the Horde, I'm like, you know what, that's fine for that story, and that's still my top two, or one of the top two favorite mini comics. But
right.
for this reintro, or trying to reestablish like what these characters are with their strengths and all that, like Hordak needs to be firmer. Like, I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here for alliances. We don't need your help. I've taken over this planet, and others, we're coming for this place now.
Yeah, the whole thing is revenge,
Yeah, like it's
conquer
not
and
about
revenge.
like, yeah, I want to crush Skeletor's skull. Like,
Yeah,
just that's
and not
not.
only that, but hey, here's another thing that I control,
Yeah,
because you said it before. It's he's conquered so much up to this point in the 18 years, hoping that there's going to eventually come that chance that he will be able to find Skeletor again and have his revenge.
yeah,
So yeah, and even with that story, you can take things too that just don't even involve He-Man at all. It could strictly be about Hordak and Skeletor and him
hmm,
out for revenge, because what order of operation does he want to do here? It's like take out Skeletor first and then go for He-Man kind of thing. So
and
there's
I
a lot
think
to play around
I
with
like
there.
that idea too, where a story is just based on the two evil factions duking it out.
Yeah,
Like there are no representation of the heroic warriors. Like there's maybe a village gets caught in the crossfire, but nobody shows up until till the battle's over, until one
but
side retreats.
I guess on the flip side of that, do you run the risk of ultimately turning Skeletor babyface?
No, 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 fuck no, 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 no,
No,
no,
no,
no.
no. I'm not saying you actually do it, but I'm saying by having the Horde versus evil warriors clashing like that in its own set of separate stories along the way or whatever, do you run the risk of readers reading that and being like, oh, well, you know what, Skeletor's actually really cool, and inadvertently he's babyface because of that
No,
aspect?
because as a kid I was Team Skeletor. Like I love the Horde, but my alliance was Skeletor and his warriors. But I would never write them to where you need to sympathize with their side in this battle. Like no, I'd write them as assholes.
Yeah, okay.
The only reason I wrote Triclops like that is because I felt like just because of his betrayal in that one mini comic where he's like, I was hired to take out you, nobody else. I like that idea that there's a little bit of honor within Triclops. He's not good. Like he's not saying like, you know what, you make me rethink my life. Like, no, my alliance is with Skeletor, but you know what? Today I can respect the fact that you saved my life.
You know,
I'm just gonna
I was in love once, and because of this,
yeah.
she passed away, and I
It's like, no, we're not doing that tragic. This is why we can't villain
Raimi
people.
Spider Man.
No, yeah, oh, yeah, fuck that. No, no, no. No, it's like the villains need to stay villains. And if I
Yeah,
was to
yeah,
ever do a story, Skeletor and his crew, they would be out for In the Name of Destruction.
yeah.
Which that's the name of a mini comic. I want to give that a
Okay,
title too,
yeah,
like
fuck
in
yeah,
the Name of
yeah.
Destruction, which is just about, either that was one
I
of
mean,
those.
both of them. It just wanting whatever it takes.
Yeah,
I need to defeat the other
yeah. It's just like they're
by any
here.
means. It's like you've all served me well, but if you fall in this battle, it was for a worthy cause, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I because I could easily see it like they pull reconnaissance on each other. Like Skeletor learns that Hordak is after. He's trying to uncover something from the Pyramid of Darkness. The House of Shakoti. Like, you know what? I don't want nothing to do with that place, but if Hordak wants it, I want to destroy it. And so you just go and you just have this battle because they're just trying to stop Hordak from advancing, and that's it. Just no, fuck him. Uh, he wants it. I don't want him to have it. I don't need it, but I'm gonna go and take out his operation.
Would you ever have a point in this story where Hordak starts hitting all the main pinpoints of Skeletor so much, in fact, that Skeletor then turns to He-Man and says, "Hey, we got to put an end to this"? Would you go
No,
that far with it?
no, no,
Okay.
no. I would never. Only in it's like a heat of the moment kind of thing.
Mm.
You know, not like like in the episode Evil Sea where Snake Mouse being overtaking my plants. He's like, okay, He Man, I'm calling as a friend. I'm ready to come and help at Grayskull. Like, no, it would need to be they're both involved in the same mission or the same objective, and it's just like that Skeletor wouldn't want Hordak to have it, so because of that, he would just team up with He Man just to stop, and then immediately turn on He Man and
Mm.
try and take it from him. I would
Yeah.
never ever have Skeletor or any of his crew be these redeemed characters because we have a new. Same thing with the Snake Men.
Yeah.
They're assholes too. The villains need to be all assholes. They're all out for themselves. They're all selfish bastards. But
All
they all need
right.
to be.
I'll ask you. Do you want to do like a down the road, do a makeover and reintroduce the Snake Man, or
Uh,
no?
no, I'm
You're
actually.
okay with how that's kind of all laid
Yeah,
out?
even though some of the later Snake Man stories are not that great. Um, but how the like King Hiss's origin and how Tongue Lasher and Rattler come like that they were members of the Horde at one point. I even though it's explained very quickly in King of the Snake Man, like I'm cool with that. I have no
Yeah.
problem with that. I
Okay.
just felt like the Horde were just even outside of Horde Act, we're just not given. I didn't think it was great that Grizzlor is this local legend on Eternia when they're coming from another planet. Like they come from Etheria, but somehow Grizzlor is seen as this Bigfoot legend. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Like and whereas Leech is well, it speaks for itself. Same thing with
Yeah.
Montana,
Yeah.
and Modulok is just kind of this little. He's kind of an irritation. as opposed to this very intelligent threat that can manipulate his body into
Right.
weapons and other organic life forms and just
Yeah.
become a big pain in the ass for anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
something that really is like he's become something that what he always wanted to be, be is equal as the evil wars, that they all have something very unique and special to bring to the table in terms of achieving ultimate victory.
yeah.
And being a brain just wasn't enough. So Hordak respects that. Where the hell am I going with this?
That
I
that
feel like
he
I feel like I'm losing
that he
track.
respects him and brings him in, and that it's just a better way to do the character as opposed to what we got in the mini comics. Basically,
Yeah.
just having
Yes.
him just like a little ghouly,
Yeah. It's
a
just
couple
not.
ghoulies running around creating mischief.
Yeah. It's not. He's not as threatening as I feel like he should be.
Right.
And I feel like that about a lot of characters, and a lot of characters were portrayed very threatening and very very formidable. But unfortunately, the Horde as a whole were not given. They were given a great push in terms of like getting the message out there. Hey, the Horde are coming. Here they are. They're merchandise and great commercials. But the mini comics were just like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all can agree the mini comics were one of the best things about the He-Man toy line. Getting a self-contained story with some awesome artwork for the most part that gave you some ideas to how your toys should have their battles and stuff like
If you
that, and
didn't
just
lose them, of course.
if you didn't lose them, of course, but also just left you with these very compelling stories, much like Filmation. You just never forgot them. And
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. We talked about this aspect of it ages ago that I wish more toy lines would have implemented having a mini comic included
hmm
with the action figures because I think it's a great way to, especially if they have action features, to
yeah,
have implement what they can do in a book between that and because cardbacks seeing that in motion, whether it was much like Master Universe, just having an illustration or how it would be in other toy lines on the back, it would show you how the toy operates. Pairing all that together really gets the kids' imagination going. So it would have been awesome if Ninja Turtles had mini comics that came with
oh
the
my
action,
God, yes,
or
dude,
if real Ghostbusters came with mini
yes. Or
comics.
Thundercats came with mini
Absolutely,
comics.
Silverhawks.
Fuck.
We could keep going down the line, but I
Bionic
think
Six, Brave Star came with the newspaper slash poster, but mini comics would have been really cool with Brave Star also.
yeah, it's a gimmick that I'm surprised only really stuck with
I know
this.
Sectars, which and they had some pretty nice
They,
looking mini comics that came with those figures as well,
but
but they
it
were one of the
wasn't
few that
many, right?
I think because it was a short line, but I think they
Yeah,
did. You can go to the website too. I think there's like I don't know 5 or 8. I think it's a
that's not too bad then.
for a small line. I think they put out. Plus, they actually had like a standard comic book series as well. It
Yeah,
was a short lived series, but the mini comics, from what I remember, that those they were pretty well drawn. I mean, simple, fun stories, but it's like, hey, they didn't treat it like this is just a shit gimmick. Just pack it in there and draw whatever. Like
yeah, yeah, something that should have been implemented everywhere, but I understand why they didn't because cost wise too. I guess that
yeah.
sort of factors in
But
as
that
well.
was what's what made He-Man so great is that it still wasn't it wasn't a dirt cheap toy line, but it was still an affordable toy line that gave you more bang for your buck.
Yeah,
If you didn't have, well, it was He-Man was on syndication, but still, if He-Man wasn't on, you couldn't rent the cartoons. You had something to go by,
right.
and to this day, there's many comics have fueled my imagination since
I
I was
mean,
3 years old.
it's like,
You know,
dude, they came out with an entire. This thing's heavy. Entire book
yes,
of them.
yeah, and I still like to just flip through that just for fun and just that'd be a fun idea to explore more on, or that would be like Spike Wars mini comic. Not very good. Spike Wars Strikes, like it's just kind of a passing, thing, and that's kind of about it. Like that'd be another one to kind of like that could be. It's not drawn ugly or anything like that. It's just not a very good for a story called
Story.
Spike Wars Strikes. He's not in it a whole lot,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and it's the case with a lot of characters, but they all couldn't be hits, but that's kind of part of the fun is like, there's so much potential in all these characters. Like they don't need to be seen as pacifists like what they turn the Rock Warriors into. Like we don't need the Rock Warriors to be a bunch of hippies, you know. or the snout spout and extend, or oh, woe is me, I'm weird and different. Dude, look at you guys. You guys are like bionic badasses. There's nothing to feel sorry for you about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wouldn't have gone that route with either one of those
No,
characters. I'd have been,
absolutely. Yeah, you need to explore their strengths and
yeah.
plow through with that instead of them looking at it as a detriment.
No, it's almost as like, did you guys look at these characters and think, well, these guys suck. Like, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna write a story.
and then you use that mentality. It's like, well, if you do that, then why would the kid want the toy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or you get the toy and you're like, oh, you're portraying snout spout is just like, I'm just an elephant man. I put out fires. I squirt water on him, and I was like,
yeah. So automatically, it's like, all right, well, he sucks. Put him in the
yeah,
fright zone prison.
yeah, yeah. He'll always be the guy that gets captured. Like, no, that's not good,
Yeah,
man. Like, every character in this line deserved to be portrayed as a badass in their own right. Every single character. There's not a weak. I don't care what your casual fans say. I don't care what some of your hardcore fans. There is not a weak link in this toy line from the very first wave to the very last wave, and then and beyond. Hell, the hero. There's one I've often thought about doing is trying to continue the hero, the Legend of Grayskull. The legend continues. We never got the second and third part. uh, and yeah, I say that also dismissing what His Royal Majesty Scott Knightley did with that botched fuck up. Um,
like, come
we
on.
didn't get a hero story. We never got, what He-Man would learn about his ancestor. We never got any of that. We never got the setup for what, obviously because the line was canceled. But to think that all that potential that seems to have intrigued fans over these years, and all we get is a shitty interpretation and a really shitty cartoon for, like a fart in the wind, and then someone lied to us all and says, "Hey, I'm going to finish that story." No, you didn't. You decided to do your own fucking story, and everyone hated it. And it still burns my ass to this day. We have never gotten that.
I mean, I think
It,
that's an aspect of Master Universe that does need to be explored way better. It's
oh
just
my god, yeah, and no
having
one seems
having
to want to do it. Everyone just wants to reinvent the fucking wheel, and as if like, I didn't grow up on this. Frankly, I thought it was kind of gay the way these guys are running around in loincloths and all that. It's not
But
my kind of
you know
thing,
what?
but
I think it's a brand new record though that we made it an hour and 42 minutes into this before we got into that aspect where you would reach a point to where you would start getting mad about all that shit that's been
well, it's just
done to the property.
believe me, I am not in the mood, and I had no desire to go on another mindless rant the way some people do about just hating the current stuff. Yes, it's been said. I just feel like there's so much potential in this property from all these heroes that didn't get much screen time or much time in the mini comics, or their toys came along too late and they weren't promoted that much.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Um,
talked about that ad nauseum, like Clamp Champ, Rio Blast. There's tons of potential there.
Oh my god,
Absolutely.
and just I feel like it still continues to go wasted. It's no one's taking that opportunity. Like, there's so much to play around with. You don't need to make up your own new characters that we can say, I created a character. Like, fuck you. It's just like, why do you need to do that? Why do you feel the need to, like, I need to make my own thing?
I
It's
don't
just like,
know.
it's just stupid. But as the whole purpose of this, like, you know what? Don't need to come up with anything new. There is a ton of material. There's nothing but this massive amount of clay to sculpt your own ideas out of, and that goes all the way back to the very beginning to the very end of the line too, and then beyond. It could just keep going and going and going. And I appreciate you letting me have this time
I
to
mean,
to to
why
share
not,
this.
man?
Well,
Absolutely. I've said it before when we talked about it at the beginning. I love the story time. I love what you come up with. You've never had anything. I'm like, oh man, that really sucked.
I was thinking, I've gone back and looked at some of the stuff that I started to write, like, that was not very good. Or I mean, I think I've told Nathan too, but I did write a sequel to the Ultimate Battleground mini comic. I wrote a complete 14-page story to that was supposed to be drawn. Never was going to see the light of day, but I did write that. I did.
Is that something you'd be willing to share on a future show?
Oh yeah, sure. I would do that. I did. I'm not. I won't go into it without the chance. I did write an origin story for Monstroid,
Ah,
which Nathan
that
knows what I'm talking about.
that's the one I alluded to earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that
yeah.
thumbs up all
Nathan
around.
Nathan liked that one. So
Yeah,
and that was actually illustrated and everything as well. But
yeah,
for a project that will never see the light of day. But it was
yep.
it was cool to
Yeah,
put that together.
that's something we can unfortunately never share. But I
Yeah,
just
for fear of
take my word for it. It was fantastic. It was incredible. It was a lot of fun. A lot of elements in there. There's one in particular I still think about. Just one
Well,
particular
you could
panel.
talk, or you could talk about it. I just said like if we
No, no,
share it, it's
I
just
know I like shrouding that in mystery because it's something to be like. Maybe it'll hike up the demand for it. Maybe something can come of it at some point.
all I'll say is if you like Clash of the Titans, you might like this story.
Yeah, there we
So,
go. Well, is there anything else we should talk about before we go ahead and get out of here?
um, no, I don't want to oversaturate what's been a great time here. So unless listeners have any fun questions to throw us, I guess we can just kind of wrap it up.
Yeah, you can go ahead and yeah, we'll take a couple of questions here. If you guys got anything good,
Yeah, and don't
you want
ask us. You know what? Do I like bugs?
I don't
Yeah.
want to no spoiler territory like we did on this before. Have you caught up on Daredevil at all? Just
Have
yes or
not,
no?
dude.
No, you haven't come
I've
back to it.
just
Okay,
I've yeah, I've
you're fine.
not
No,
yeah.
I hope you do go back to it and check it out because it's so overall I've enjoyed the whole thing. I don't know if this past episode was it for the season or if there's one more episode. Not sure. The way that episode ended, it kind of seemed like maybe potential cliffhanger sort of thing, but yeah, I don't know.
No, it hasn't. Like I don't want to. I just haven't made time to do it. So
Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah, that's all it's really been about.
you get around to doing that. I was trying to think if there was anything plan. What are you going to watch this weekend? You got any movies lined up?
Uh, Not right off.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I just all I'm looking forward to is sleeping in. So yeah, when
That's
work and getting in late, like I just don't have a whole lot of downtime in the evenings right now. At least just the way things have been. So I'm just plus honestly, I spent a lot of time this week getting ready for this. Like, and what I've done in my spare time a lot is watch He-Man cartoons. I've had it's just been so good to feel like, oh my God, I get that passion back, and you just want to watch cartoons after cartoons, like watching He-Man, watching She-Ra. Just when what little downtime I get at home, like that's what I've done a lot. Is just embed myself and you know coming up with ideas for Kevin to draw and trying to come up with more stuff for this conversation and just write this down. Like that's a good idea. And it's just been fun to be uh, just so excited to talk He-Man. You know,
yeah.
it's been really good. So I want to again thank you and listeners. If you liked it, great. If not, I apologize. But I just it was really fun to do this. I enjoyed every minute of sharing this. So I
Yeah.
hope others enjoyed it as well.
Well, you know what? I think that was a good way, honestly, to kind of cap it off. We won't take any questions, but leave comments down below and let us know your thoughts on Tyler's story, whether you liked it or not. If you haven't done so already, make sure you like this video, subscribed if you haven't already, and until later, let the power return.
Homie, is that my briefcase?
Falling down?
No.
Damn it. Mm.
Hey, where you going? You forgot the briefcase. You forgot the briefcase. Clear path, you motherfucker.
I mean,
I'm just
yeah.
quoting that. No,
Okay, I was like, what?
no. You're just uh no. I was just throwing that out because you were thinking falling down, so I was just humoring you.
Uh, give me a hint on that one.
The
Are you just gonna pull another quote, huh?
Well, I thought about doing that. Like, you know what? The guy who says this has gray hair.
Collateral?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
uh, I think I talked to you. We mentioned, or I mentioned. I don't think we did that on a show or not, but I watched Heat last week, and
Yeah.
yeah, that got me in a Michael Mann mood. So I need to watch Collateral again very soon
Oh God, me
because
too.
yeah, that and you and I are long overdue to just like have a conversation about just that movie in general. Anyway,
Yeah. Oh,
because that's one we saw in theaters together.
yeah. We saw it opening night.
Yeah, I bought the soundtrack for
I
it.
did
You and
too.
we were counting down the days until the DVD released. It's we mentioned this before. I think it's
It is Tom's best film.
I'm gonna say it's my favorite Tom Cruise movie.
By
Oh,
far.
but you could argue some of the others for sure. But
Well, after seeing that though, that's what made me really want to go back and check out, his past films, because I didn't mind Tom Cruise or anything like that. I just was kind of like, yeah, he's one of the big stars in the world, and he makes blockbuster movies, but it was just kind of like I didn't that movie let it in. But like when I saw the promotional shot on, I think it was Chud.com, of him stepping out of the cab, I'm like, holy shit, he looks cool as hell.
yeah,
And that's been back when Val Kilmer was supposed to play the detective on the case,
uh, that would have
but
been
he got
so
held over
awesome.
playing the shitty Alexander.
Yeah, fuck that movie.
So I remember like Mark Ruffalo's cast. Like, oh
I
no,
mean,
man.
nothing against
No,
Mark
no,
Ruffalo. I like Mark
no,
Ruffalo, but
no. At the time when I found out,
yeah,
like Val Kilmer's not gonna be in this, like, dude, I want to see them in the same movie again. I thought Val is the Detective Fanning, who's a few steps behind this whole thing, and like, oh shit, he's all the filming and that piece of shit Alexander is like keeping him from like fuck.
but
But
with Alexander, we did get Rosario Dawson naked, so thumbs up
I
there.
had no memory of that. I got up and
I
walked
do.
out. I think I forgot how far I made it well into the movie. I was like, man, this movie
And Colin
sucks.
Farrell really sucked in that movie too.
He sucked in a lot of movies back then. I
Yeah,
couldn't
he
figure. And my
did.
brother was a fan. I was like, why? Why is this
Yeah,
guy even cast in everything?
but
Like
I mean, he shines though. He's got his
he
moments.
had this. Well, he was very good as the Penguin, and he did a good job as Jared Daniels in the Fright Night remake. Because if you want to
Yeah.
do a remake, you got to cast Colin Farrell.
Hey, you remember when those ladies when he bit in that apple? Or no, you weren't with me at that. That was Sam that was with me at that one, right? I just told you about it.
I
I,
think
I
so. Yeah.
yeah, I
Oh
went and
yeah.
saw. Yeah, when he bites in the apple, there were like ladies behind me that were just like, like groaning back there. I'm like, holy, all right, what's going on back there? I don't want to
I have
know.
to put a wet floor sign back there.
Yeah, yeah.
You just squirted. But yeah, it's I've eased up, but I feel like, man, I just had no interest in the movies he made during that
Yeah,
long stretch in the
yeah,
2000s.
yeah. And he was like king of the fucking shitty remakes too.
He was in the Miami Vice. He was in
Total
SWAT. He was in Total
Recall.
Recall, Fright Night.
I mean, Friday
I mean,
Night was good. I
Fright
liked
Night was
that
good,
one.
but it's just like, why are they casting this guy to be in remakes?
Every remake.
Yeah,
It's like, God,
and they're not. And I thought when they were going to do Miami Vice, Michael Mann's going to direct. Oh my God, this is gonna be. And then I was like, Colin Farrell. And then they showed like these behind the scene shots of him looking more like Don Johnson, Sonny Crockett, where he's wearing a white suit. He's got his hair kind of back in this kind of slight ponytail coming off his boat. I'm like, I don't like Colin Farrell, but you know what? If that's the kind of look they're gonna go with, I'm like,
yeah.
all right, I'm on board. And then he looks like an out of work porn star, in the movie, and it sucks.
Did did I tell you that I blind bought that on Blu-ray like a while
No,
back?
no.
And then I attempted to watch it. I had a few. I attempted to watch it, and I'm like, I can't do this drunk. I'm gonna have to be sober and see how. Like, I can't do it this way.
I mean, like I said, it's
It
just
seemed
it's
really
a
awful at the beginning, but I was
oh
too
yeah.
far. I was too far into the booze that I was like, I should recheck this and watch it clear minded just to really give a good opinion on it.
Yeah, I remember seeing it in theaters. I'm like, I really wanted to like it because it's Miami Vice, and I really wanted it to be something. I mean, I'm like, it just was. I even bought it hoping I might think differently about it. Like, no, I don't. I don't feel any different about it. I haven't watched it in years, and
Yeah,
I feel like it's a wasted opportunity. And Michael just, I think it was miscast, and it wasn't a good movie. It wasn't
yeah.
enjoyable. It didn't capture anything, and not even a quarter of the magic of Miami Vice.
But go watch Collateral and go
Yeah,
watch
go watch
Heat.
Collateral and Heat.
We will take one question here. This is from Sean. This is it's Horde related. Do you have Power of the Evil Horde book and tape? And do you consider it part of the mini comic canon, or is it its own thing to you?
I don't have it. I wish I did. But I look at it like it's its own thing.
Yeah, I do too.
Much like how like the Golden Books, I have like the Horde book, then they have Tila's Secret, which are Horde based stories. They almost look at them as like, but one thing I wish people would do if they were smart is that there are so many great elements in Master of the Universe that you could pull from all, like the Golden Books, the mini comics, Filmation, the live action film, the magazines, good ideas, and splice them all together
Mm-hmm.
and make one giant great continuity that helps tell an even better story, but fans of all those medias would like really appreciate because they realize where that comes from. So at least the Power of the Horde book utilizes the fright zone. Like
Yeah.
all the things are mentioned in that, and what the hordemen do is showcased in that as well. It does better than those first couple of mini comics for sure, and it's got
Yeah.
Bruce Timm's artwork. So
Yeah, I was gonna say the artwork in that is really well done.
yeah,
I
Bruce
didn't. I
Timm
didn't.
knocked it out of the park on that one.
Yeah, I didn't know who did the artwork. Now I know,
Yeah,
and now I'd be like, "Yep, that checks out. That makes sense."
yeah,
Well, I hope all of you enjoyed. We'll catch you soon. Thanks, Tyler, for the wonderful story time.
my pleasure. Thank you all.
Go to sleep, kid.
You're harshing my buzz.